Hi, I am Pact. We, here at the channel of the Gravedigger Queens, had an internal debate on who was going to be the host of this one. Gravedigger Queen was like, maybe I should take this one because it's sort of scary. And I was like, okay. But then Maurice Monroe was like, no, maybe Pact should take it because it's about like reality and stuff. And I was like, okay, yeah, whatever. And then Gravedigger Queen was like, yeah, alright, well, yeah, sure. And so now I'm the narrator guy. It's kind of about a guy who finds enlightenment in a closet or something. I don't know, they were arguing so much I didn't actually read the story. It's called Positive Affirmation Could Kill Us All by Montsho Shelby.
I used to think that people were malleable, that people could change, but I've come to the conclusion that people just are what they are, and there is no real fix. I was an addict, cocaine, and I spent much of the last year trying to get clean. I did, luckily, and I took that small victory and ran with it, but 3 months later, I didn't get hooked back on drugs. I got hooked on pornography. I went cold turkey on that. Now I'm back to spanking it to magazines, non-porn ones. It's a simpler life, and now I know what the Amish feel like. Now that I kicked that habit, I'm hooked on collecting old video game consoles. It's ridiculous. The hobby's taken over my life. I even had to sacrifice my bedroom to it. My girlfriend does not approve, but she stuck with me through all of it, so maybe she's got her own mental shit she's going through. You see the pattern here. It's not the drugs, it's not the porn, it's not the video games. It's me, and it always has been me. There is something in me that says if I find some sort of happiness doing a thing, that should be the only thing that I do. I realized that I had to change things inside of me, or I was just going to have to accept that I was never going to stop. Now that I think about it, this isn't new. Ever since I can remember, once I got into a thing, that thing was all that mattered in life until I found it destructive and pivoted. Back in the day, it was Pokemon cards, and before that, it was comic books. When I really think about it, me being a drug addict wasn't much of a shock. I got hold of a free therapy session, like the online therapist at BetterHelp or something like that. So this is why I started seeing this pattern in me, that I need to feel something with something that will consume my time. I went past that though, and got to wondering what everyone's deal was. If we were all carrying around some sort of programming we all got at childhood, what exactly was it? I started thinking back to the friends I had as kids and attempted to connect dots. I recall my buddy Woodrow was deep into martial arts, kung fu movies, and pretty much all Asian culture. And now he has a Korean wife, does MMA, and has a master's in Asian American studies. My other buddy Keith, as long as I knew him, always had a girlfriend, literally always, going back to when we were 8 years old. I follow his social media, and every time someone sinks one of his relationship battleships, another one instantly appears. He got divorced last year, and not 3 weeks later, he's dating again and has a girlfriend. I was starting to think certain things were just written into your DNA, and there was no change in it. I suppose this was a way for me being an addict to stay an addict and justify it. But I wasn't, not anymore. I went past that now. I wanted to see if there was a way to completely break myself of an addictive personality. Was there a way for me to will myself not to want to find that little corner of bliss and chase it aggressively? I believe that what I was asking stepped out of the realm of biology and moved into the realm of metaphysics. Could a dog will itself not to lick its ass? Could a cat resist the urge to be an asshole? I don't know. I mean, when you look at a little toy poodle, I always have to ask myself, how in the hell did that thing start out as a wolf and degenerate into that? So in the end, you have to ask yourself, was it even a good idea to attempt to alter yourself? Did you know better than nature? Were you a god? So, to start my little experiment, what I had to do was consider what it was that I was doing now, which was aggressively collecting video game consoles. Then stop it, flat out, halt stop. I suppose I could do that for now, seeing I was on this new mission in life. The first week was pretty hard. I had to stay away from the resale websites and eBay. I even told my girl she could get rid of my shit and have her living room back. She didn't ask me twice, or even ask me once to confirm why. Within 48 hours, all my consoles were gone, as if they were never there. All that was left was their dust prints. For the first 3 days, I hardly felt anything. In fact, I was doing other things to fill my time. It was as if my brain was searching for its next addiction. I backslid once when one of those targeted ads appeared on social media. I clicked on things, read some reviews, and even started to buy an old SNES. But the only reason I didn't was because I had to put in my credit card. Just that moment of pause was enough for me to will the demon back in its cage. As the weeks went on, I found myself getting more and more depressed. My mind was desperate to latch on to anything to fill the ever-expanding void. I gorged myself on TV and social media and found myself wanting to restore old cars passionately, and then seriously considered attempting to open a shop that pickled food. I resisted the urge because that was the point, to see if I could rewire myself to change, if I could just will myself not to do it. By week 3, I was so depressed I was seriously considering suicide. I felt the hands of existential dread pulling me down, attempting to drown me in nothingness. This was rock bottom. I didn't think I could get much lower than wishing for death. My girlfriend recommended that I go on medication, but I refused because that was my first big addiction, and I had no interest in going backwards. On a sleepless night, I laid in bed and watched a YouTube channel that encouraged self-improvement and positive affirmation. It held my attention long enough for me to pull a few useful tidbits of information from it. They claimed that if you wanted something in life, the first step was visualization. That did make sense. It was the idea that if you didn't picture where you wanted to go, how could you conceivably get there? This was logic. I had done all this work in attempting to completely rewire my thinking, but I didn't know where I actually wanted to go. So I did this. I put all my efforts into willing what it was I wanted into being. It was a massive failure, and I came to the conclusion I didn't really want anything, and maybe that was the reason I chased after things so aggressively when I found them, because I never actually wanted that thing. I wanted a true purpose. I decided that if I was going to do this, I had to do it right. If I was going to figure out how I could break myself of being addictive, this was as close to the path as I was able to get. I sat in the barren, consoleless living room staring at the wall, waiting for a visualization to happen. Something in my brain to tell me what it was that I would want 5 years from now that wasn't some quick obsession that I would chase until it burned me. Within 5 minutes, I'd find myself with my phone in my hand, surfing the web through inane YouTube videos. There was nothing there. It was a block in me that my mind couldn't overcome. I went down a rabbit hole and found a YouTube video on sensory deprivation and sensory deprivation chambers. It was basically you lying in a coffin filled with water with the door closed waiting for your mind to hallucinate. I thought I may do that, but I'd take a half measure and sit in a dark closet first. And if that couldn't get me ideas, well, maybe the next step was the deprivation chamber. I cleaned out my closet, and of course, because I was leery about doing it, I overcleaned it and used that excuse to just clean out my bedroom too. Once again, my mind was attempting to divert me from making any progress. That night, I told my girl that I wanted her to lock me in the closet with a padlock and not let me out until morning. No light, no phone, no stimulus. I asked her if she was going to watch TV, to do it with headphones on so I couldn't hear anything but my thoughts. She told me that maybe this was my new thing I was obsessing over obsessing itself. She may have been right, but at the very least, this particular obsession had a potential goal that could be theoretically achieved. She agreed. My thought was to go in with 2 jugs, one for peeing and one for drinking water, and nothing but beef jerky strips. The plan was to have a full night's sleep, then at noon lock myself in the closet and let myself out at midnight. If I couldn't think of what my purpose was in that time, the absolute last ditch would be the deprivation chamber. I must admit that I was scared when I first went in, not so much of the dark, but the idea that I'd see nothing and have no insight into why I was the way I was and have no idea how to change it. When the door closed, I took a deep breath and concentrated hard as I could. I had to because I was well rested and couldn't get to sleep in there if I wanted to. I don't know how long I was in there because my girl put a towel under the door to block all the light completely. After what I perceived as about 2 hours or so, I was into my second beef jerky. I had no visions, no insights that I could take away from this experiment, though I did begin to think, and my mind drifted until I became more steady and relaxed. I felt a thread unravel at the seams of the universe, and I had to pull it. If we were all made to be a certain thing, whether through nature or nurture, why should we change it? I felt as if this was the absolute first question I needed to answer before I got anywhere. If I thought that I wasn't good enough as a person, was there a quintessential version of a person we all should be? Was there a such thing as a perfect man? Because I realized that this was the true question I was asking myself. I had to separate my current experiment away from the question I was inevitably asking. If there was such a thing as a perfect person was a debate that we would never reach consensus on, but could you physically be another person when the universe had cast you in a mold? The only way I could test any of these as a viable theory was if I became someone else, not necessarily the best person, but more so, any person. I found it much easier to visualize a person than the person. Could I be as smooth as Blade, with the wit of a Robert Downey Jr. from Iron Man, along with someone who always dressed well? Oddly enough, with the introductions of examples, I had an easy time thinking about how I could change myself. I cycled past the question of what was the point of changing myself. My wants and ambitions, just to see if I could. But that was the answer, just to see if I could. Long-term goals and ambitions were something that you couldn't fake, or maybe you could, but I couldn't think of what I personally wanted out of the future. I had to make arbitrary goals that made zero sense to me. I was creating who I intended to be for the near future. I pieced together ambitions from fictions and things I had heard to create what I was calling the anti-me. I noticed the dot of light swelling in the corner that I didn't before. Maybe it just led to the room over and it had gotten dark enough for the light to stand out. This light was becoming my new obsession. "I really admire what you're doing here," said a muffled voice from somewhere on the other side of the wall. I was pretty sure my girl must have broke and turned on the television. "Hey, can you hear me?" said the voice coming from the dot of mystery light. "Are you talking to me?" I said to the distant voice. "Yeah, of course," said the voice from the other side of the wall. "Is there a radio or something over there? Because I thought that the bathroom was facing that direction." "I may be coming from a bit further than the next room." "Don't be all cryptic now. Where are you?" "I don't think I'm ready to say just yet." "Okay, fine. I have work to do here anyways," I said. I'll not lie and tell you that I thought this wasn't scary. Disembodied voices suddenly manifesting in my house was terrifying, actually. I continued piecing together all the building blocks of this new person. Name, likes, dislikes, childhood trauma, personal motivations. Most of what I chose, I wasn't sure if I personally could do, and if I could, would it hold my attention? I was, after all, pretending to be into these things, not actually into any of these things. In the end, I suppose that I wouldn't know until I tried. I couldn't know what would happen, but something had already happened that I didn't quite have an answer for. I was nearly ready. I must have been shaping and reshaping this mystery person for hours. I felt like I was a moth. This closet was my cocoon, and when I emerged, I'd be a butterfly. "Pretty close then," said the voice behind the wall. I was going to ignore it, but I became curious of what he meant. How would he know I were close to anything? Only my girl knew I was doing this, and even then she didn't know what I was actually doing. She only had the gist of it. Hell, I didn't even know what I was doing until I got in here. Pretty close to what? I asked, to the dot of light in the corner. To doing the most important thing you have ever done in your life. I'm gonna have to ask you, how do you know me and where are you coming from? Because you're weirding me out. Am I? Well, you started it. Started what? You weirded me out first. I'm piecing it all together on my end as well, but I think you just broke reality. Broke reality? Yeah, as far as I can tell, yeah. Broke reality. I don't have a better name for it. I think you did something that no one else has ever done just now. What's that? As far as I can figure, you willed yourself out of reality by thinking hard. That's stupid as fuck. Absolutely. And no, people were not meant to be anything but what they were programmed to be, and you figured a way to break the mold. You willed a new thing into existence. It's just an idea. I didn't will anything. Well, I can tell you that you absolutely have succeeded, or I wouldn't have been drawn to you here. The thing is, if this is something you can do, I wouldn't mind seeing what else you can do. Who are you? Someone who has spent quite a bit of time attempting to break reality, just like you. I never meant to break reality. I was just testing a theory. And guess what? You succeeded. So, I'd like you to come with me so that I can see just how well you can do what you do. And where are you then? On the other side of this wall. The bathroom's on the other side of this wall. Okay, then touch the wall and see if you're so certain. I was very scared now, but I was on a roll. I needed to see just how far I could push it. I approached the little dot of light in the corner and slowly put my finger to it. As I did, my finger slipped into what I would have figured would have been solid, but it was intangible as smoke. When I pulled my finger away, the light was brighter and the hole was bigger. Just give that a yank, said the voice of the other guy in the wall. I did as the voice said, not for him, but for me. I brought my hand down quickly and with the same violence as one may in tearing a poster off the wall. The closet was enveloped with light, which felt like daylight, not something artificial like that of a light bulb. What the fuck? I muttered to myself. This felt real. Then I thought, maybe this was just me hallucinating. Maybe my mind had been so deprived of stimulus that it went and created something. In fact, the occurrence was so bizarre, I had convinced myself that this had to be the case. So I took everything that happened from this point with a grain of salt, the same way as one may a dream. I looked into the light-filled hole in reality, but tried not to get too close. I could see on the other side green fields and a picturesque scene of nature. "Where are you?" I said to the voice. "Over here," he said, waving his hand jubilantly in the field. I could hear him just fine. It no longer sounded like I was speaking to him through a door. He began moving forward because he was a good deal away when I spotted him. "Come on in. I have lots of things to show you." "No, I think I'm good right here." "Why?" "I don't know you." "Why don't you come over here?" The man looked to be an any man dressed so banally that it wasn't worthy of mention. He was like a symbol in a dream, as if he represented a man, but wasn't one really. When I said no, he didn't quite blow up, but he wasn't thrilled about it either. He got close until we were like mirror images. "You tore a hole in reality with your will, and you don't want to explore that?" "I didn't say that. I just didn't say I wanted to do it with you. Not until I know where you plan on taking me." Of course it couldn't be that easy, could it? The any man reached through the tear in reality and grabbed my shirt. His hand was muscular and scaled when it passed through, as if what I was looking at through the door was merely an illusion. I instinctively dropped backwards, but the thing was so strong it held me in place. As it tried to drag me through the portal of light, something snapped in me. I twisted his thumb with my 2 hands and broke it. The beast released me. I had never knew how to or done anything like that. It was as if something inside me knew what I was doing. When its demonic scaled hand fell away, the face of the Any-Man contorted in anger. He leaned in to push more of himself into the closet. I spun and used the force of my body to pull him in and drop him to the ground. More of his true form was revealed. It was grotesque, but I wasn't afraid. His body was scaled and reptilian, and his face was demonic and otherworldly. It was disproportioned to any living creature that I understood. It was so big, it filled up the closet. It growled at me with teeth that were like razors. Without hesitation, I rolled on top of the thing and smashed my elbow into its face. As I attempted to stand, I rolled onto its back. And though the thing's neck was as big as a tree trunk, I twisted it 2 different directions and broke it. It dropped. I wasn't scared. In fact, I was calmer than normal. I felt like the character I was creating for myself. Suddenly, the door opened. My girl shrieked when she saw me on top of a nether demon with an open portal of light on the wall. So, positive affirmation could in fact kill us all.
Wow, I think this story was kind of like up my alley or whatever. If you just think hard enough, you can make shit happen. When you master your reality, anything can happen. Look at Jay-Z and Beyonce. How the hell did that happen? How the hell are most of the Jackass guys still alive? Will. Master your reality. Get on my level. Pact. Out.